Welcome, everyone. Glad you could join me. This is Bud Wassell, and I want to start off by saying Happy Valentine's Day. And this is kind of a coincidence that we're having this webinar. As you know, this is a monthly refresher webinar that I do on the second Friday of every month. And they kind of replicate the mindfulness classes that many of you have taken, but if you haven't, it's quite all right. Anyone is free to join. And so each time we do have a little bit of a different theme. Last time we spoke on mindfulness at work, and today, as I said, we're going to be talking about loving kindness, compassion, self-compassion, and so the meditations will be loving kindness meditation. At the end, I'm going to do one that's called a heart meditation, very appropriately. And so should be an interesting agenda. And just point out that if you have any questions, either speak up or use the chat feature. You should see that on your controls there. And if you have any problem technically, hopefully you won't. I do have one video that I want to show you on mindfulness and compassion. So again, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a good day, and I think this is appropriate that we can focus on loving kindness, which is a little bit of a different slant for mindfulness, as opposed to, say, focusing on our breath or our body or something like that. But really, it's pretty amazing the impact that these kinds of practices can have on our own, kind of opening up our own hearts to giving and receiving. So that's the focus today. I do want to mention that I do have a couple of classes coming up called Stress Better, brand new. Instead of 5 or 6 sessions, it's only 3 sessions. I do have them scheduled around the system, so one at the York Street campus, one at the St. Raphael campus, one at Bridgeport, one at Greenwich. And then I do have a webinar. So that is going to be also on Friday mornings, starting on the 28th. So 2 Fridays from now, 3 weeks. And I'll send this out to you, so you'll have some information about these if you want to sign up. But they're kind of in the same format. There'll be 45-minute sessions, both in person and on the webinar, and the whole idea is to learn how to really kind of get better at stress, and that's the whole point. So I hope you can join me at one of those. Did want to mention, as by way of sort of an introduction to this whole topic, I came across something called the Kindness Challenge in the workplace, and it's a 30-day kindness challenge that's, I guess, happening this month. I'm not sure who it's being, who's supporting it or sponsoring it, but just some of the concepts I thought were really kind of a nice idea. Just so it talks about the benefits of implementing acts of kindness in the workplace, you know, building community, helping colleagues work together, improving morale, improving attitude. And that's pretty obvious as to what the benefits would be. But some of the very simple ways that you can easily implement kindness in the workplace, just to kind of give you a sampling of some of those, you know, buying coffee for someone at work, treating a colleague to lunch, choosing humor with a colleague who's having a rough morning, writing a thank you note to a coworker, letting them know how much you appreciate them. Smile at each person you pass by in the office. You know, and all of this, you know, it sounds maybe a little bit hokey, but, you know, I'm becoming more and more convinced by it. I was listening to a podcast by Sonia Lubomirsky, and I don't know if I've got her last name correct, but she was on actually the, I believe it was the 10% Happier podcast. And she's been a happiness researcher for over 30 years. Kind of even before it was in vogue. There's been a lot more done on happiness in the last few years. And so she talked about 3 things: acts of kindness, like I've just been talking, gratitude, so really focusing on things that we're grateful for, writing them down, being aware, going in for a little bit of a deeper dive on the gratitude in our own lives, and social interaction and little small acts of connecting with people throughout the day. And so the interviewer asked her what she thought in her 30 years of experience was the most important element of developing happiness. And no surprise, really, it was the social interaction. And so she talked about some of the studies that she'd been doing. So even little things like just randomly talking to strangers, sometimes we're in an elevator with somebody, or we're waiting in line in the grocery store, or we kind of have those moments. And most often we're kind of paying attention to our own, the internal noise, or wishing impatiently that the line would get moving, or whatever it is, or looking at our phones. And she said that when they studied this, even these small little conversations and bits of connection with strangers make a difference in how we feel. So I encourage you to try that. I've tried it a few times in the last week or so, and it can change your energy and your mood. And so, of course, practicing any of these things on an ongoing basis really can make the most difference in terms of our own traits. All right, so somebody just put out a chat. This is a good one. I heard Norm Roth, Greenwich Hospital CEO, give a talk recently, and he credits their high HCAHPS to a strong adherence to and acceptance for the 5-10 rule. Acknowledging everyone, guests, patients, coworkers, helps change their culture to be a more positive one. So yeah, thank you for that comment. And it really does, this stuff works. So of course, I think the other way that it works is it helps us lead to a more deeper and lasting connection with those around us. So, but the small little ones really seem to pave the way, I think, is kind of what the message is. All right, so let me go forward a little bit here and see if I've got this set up. I've had a busy morning, so I haven't really been feeling that on top of this agenda. Oh, I know what I want to do. To start off, let's do a quick pause. As you know, I often start the classes with just a brief kind of pause as a way to kind of get ourselves into the here and now, and to leave behind all the stuff we've been working on and all the stuff that we're thinking about. So just get yourself into a comfortable position wherever you're listening from. And this is going to be 3 breaths for a mindful pause. All right, so let's just take a nice, full, deep breath in and out. And as you're doing so, just really focus in on your breathing, really paying attention to the in-breath and the out-breath, feeling the breath in and out, anchoring yourself through the breath in the present moment. The second is another full deep breath in, and now focusing on our body and just sort of maybe a quick scan of the body and just asking yourself, what does my body need right now? Maybe it needs a little stretch or a little movement or a little relaxation. Maybe it needs a little air, maybe a little water or food. Just asking, what does my body need right now? And the third step, and the third deep breath, taking another deep breath. And remember to be kind to yourself. Everything you need is really right here in this moment. So smile to yourself. Even that simple act of a slight smile to yourself can change your nervous system. Enjoy yourself. Be nice to yourself. And then send your kindness to anyone you're dealing with or thinking about at the moment. Even just mentally, sending that kindness out to those that we're we're involved with, and anyone who needs your loving kindness. So sending that out to the rest of the world. And then try to bring this expanded awareness with you to the next moments of your day. And then opening the eyes if you've had them closed, and that really finishes the 3 breaths for a pause. So hopefully that's helped to kind of bring us here and now. And I will say there, I'm getting a little background noise. So if you might try muting your phone. I don't know if somebody's typing or there's a little bit of noise coming through, but if you wouldn't mind muting your phone, and you can still listen, but that will take away that background noise. That'd be great. Thank you so much. All right, so on this next slide, we did talk about mindfulness at work last month. If you were on the call last month, we talked about mindful driving, mindful pauses, mindful meetings, being aware of unpleasant events. So just to kind of bring that up, as that was a little bit of the focus, trying to bring mindfulness into our daily work life. And certainly if anybody has any feedback or comments, if you've been trying to do that a little bit more, I'm always open to hearing about those. So feel free to use the chat feature if you like. But today, again, we're going to be focusing on kindliness towards ourselves and others. So this idea of merging mindfulness with kindliness and results in kindfulness. So we have a quote from Sharon Salzberg, who's done a lot of work in this area. She's got a great website, a couple of very good books. She even has a book called Real Happiness at Work. There's one called Real Happiness and then Real Happiness at Work. But her quote, loving kindness isn't the same as passion or romantic love. It's not sappy sentimentality. As I've said, we don't necessarily like or approve of everyone to whom we offer loving kindness. Focusing our attention on inclusion and caring creates powerful connections to challenge the idea of us, them world by offering a way to see everyone as us. So I love that quote. I did send you a, if you haven't seen it in the meeting invite, I attached the slides, so you'll have those. I also attached a brief article on loving kindness by Sharon Salzberg, and also a thing on walking loving kindness, which is really a nice way to integrate the two. You know, I've talked about doing a walking meditation, just really paying attention to yourself as you're walking, the physical sensations of your lifting and placing of your feet, and the touch, and the, you know, being aware of the internal landscape in a sense. Well, so with adding in kindness to your walk, you know, just kind of being aware of those around you and sending them well wishes. And you'll see, I'll give you some scripting. We'll talk about that. You'll hear that in the meditation that's soon coming up. But just a couple more words from her article. Loving kindness, we consciously shift our attention to include the good within ourselves, and so too when we look at others. And in the second half of today's program, we're going to talk about self-compassion, which I think is so important, because so much of the time we kind of, we're hard on ourselves. And so it's important to kind of remember to be kind and nurturing ourselves. And that's also what she points out, that nurturing and growing an orientation of goodwill and inclusiveness and connection. And again, it's a muscle. The more we practice, we'll always grow stronger, extending our friendship to ourselves and others. So what I'd like to do now is I want to show you part of a video by Shauna Shapiro, who is a psychologist who's done a number of studies. And let's see if I can find this, so just bear with me for a moment. Oh, having a hard time finding it, so let's see, maybe this is it. she, in her studies, talks about how mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness, here, this might work. Yes, okay. So I'm going to start this in a moment. I'm going to try to cue it up to a spot. You know, the whole video is about 16 minutes, so we're not going to listen to the whole thing, just a few minutes of it. But she talks about some of the research that she's done that I think you'll find interesting. So let's see, starting right about here.
But this is something that these traditions have known for thousands of years. And so when I came back to the States to get my PhD, I became really interested in, does training in mindfulness increase compassion? And so the very first randomized controlled trial I did was in 1998, and Decker's correct. I was told, you're going to ruin your career, you will never go into academia if you're going to study this meditation stuff, and if you do, at least don't study compassion and empathy along with it. So, of course, that's what I decided to do. And I did a randomized controlled trial with medical students. And what we found is that training in mindfulness-based stress reduction significantly increased their empathy and compassion. Since that time, for the past 15 years, I've conducted 6 or 7 other randomized controlled trials that have been published showing that mindfulness significantly increases compassion for others as well as compassion for ourselves. Next slide. So this is very interesting, which is the first order question, which is, does mindfulness increase compassion? And right now we can say yes. There's a strong foundation. And so the second order question, which I've become really interested in, is how? What are the mechanisms of action? So I'm going to offer these to you just as a way of opening a conversation. These are ideas that I've been exploring and playing with. So I'll introduce 4 ideas. The first is perfect. No, you're perfect. One more. Back to the superhighway. Yes. What we practice becomes stronger. I think the reason mindfulness increases compassion is because when you're practicing this way with yourself, moment by moment, right? We're with ourselves all the time. We strengthen the capacity to be compassionate with ourselves and with others. And I like to think of it as kind of, we have these superhighways of our conditioned patterning. And so what I noticed for myself at the monastery was my superhighway, my habit pattern, was judgment and self-criticism and striving and thinking something was wrong. And so I had this image of this kind of like little country road that I was digging out of compassion, of like a new way of being with myself and being with my experience. And that country road, that neural pathway, gets stronger as we practice it. Next slide. Another reason I think mindfulness increases compassion is actually very similar to what Paul was just talking about with safety and slowing down. That there was the classic study, the Good Samaritan study, done at Princeton University in the 70s. And what they found is they took seminary students and they said, prepare a lecture on what it means to be a good person. What does it mean to be a good Samaritan? And then half the group, they said, you better hurry because you're late to give this lecture. And these students went running across campus, afraid, scared, and they had a Confederate fall down in front of them. And the students, for the most part, ran by. They didn't stop to help. The other half of the students were told, you have all the time you need. Go ahead to give your lecture. And the same person fell in front of them, and for the most part, they stopped. What I love about this study is it doesn't say, oh, we're such bad people. What it says is that when we're scared, when we're hurried, when we're not seeing clearly, our natural compassion doesn't come out. And so I think what mindfulness does is it helps us slow down, see more clearly, feel safe, so that we can express this natural compassion. The third way that I think mindfulness increases compassion is by helping us see our interdependence, our interconnectedness. John spoke about Indra's net, this understanding that we're not separate. And so I love this kind of metaphor of imagining that the left hand had a splinter in it. The right hand would naturally take the splinter out. And the left hand wouldn't say, oh my God, you're so generous. You're so compassionate. Thank you so much. It's just what the right hand does, right? We're part of the same body. We're part of the same body. Okay. Spinoza, who was my grandfather's favorite philosopher, he says, we're all cells in God's body. When we begin to see clearly that we're not separate, when we begin to see clearly our interdependence, compassion naturally arises. It's just what makes sense. Okay, are you still breathing? I just remembered mine. Next slide. A final pathway, I think, for mindfulness to increase compassion is that it helps us remember our essential nature. When I was first working as a clinical psychologist in a veterans hospital, I was leading a group of mindfulness training for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And these were mostly men who had come back from Vietnam and who had been suffering for a very long time with post-traumatic stress disorder. And the group focused on training in mindfulness, really with an emphasis on holding ourselves and our experiences and our past experiences, even the seemingly unforgivable ones, with compassion. So I was leading a group of about a dozen men, and there was one man who never spoke, never looked up. And we were about 3 months into this group, and I remember saying to my clinical supervisor, I don't know what to do. I'm not reaching him. And a few weeks later, he went to speak, and he said, I don't want to get better. I don't deserve to get better. What I did was so horrible that I deserve these nightmares. I deserve this pain. And he proceeded to tell us, looking down, he really didn't look up the entire time. Looking down, he said, you know, I wasn't even a soldier. I wasn't even in combat. I was just on the medic truck. And I would bring food and supplies to the villages. And when our truck would come in, the children kind of got to know that we were the ones with food, and they'd come running out. And one day we were coming into a village, and who came running out was our own troops. And they were bloody and beaten. And they came running to us, saying how most of them had died because the village had betrayed us. And they had told the enemy where we were, and we had been bombed. And just as we're receiving this, the children come running out because they hear our truck. And out of the corner of my eye, I see my friend pick up a can of food and throw it at a small boy and have it hit the boy, and he falls down. And he said, and all of a sudden, before I knew it, I was picking up a can of food and I was throwing it at these children. And we'd cheer every time we'd hit one, like it was target practice. And as he's speaking, tears are running down his face. And he's looking down at the floor, and the shame in the room was palpable. And I looked at the other men's faces, a little bit nervous about what I was going to see. And all I saw was compassion. There was no judgment. They got it. They knew. They understood. They saw the horror of what had happened, and they also saw who he truly was. And I invited him to look up and to look around the room and to experience that compassion that was possible. Next slide.
All right, I'm going to pause it there, and you can always go back and finish that later if you like. So let me go back to the slides, and in a moment we're going to do our loving kindness meditation. So loving kindness meditation is just some images here. Is really quite profound, and people who practice it regularly really say it makes quite a difference in their own compassion, self-compassion. So I encourage you to try it. You know, if it's not something that you do on a regular basis, there is a link to this on our website, on our EFR website. And if you're interested in more, I can always point out other resources for you. So let's actually do the meditation. So just get get yourself into a comfortable position in your chair and bring your awareness to the touch of your body in the chair. Feel the weight of your body settling in. And just finding that good, balanced, comfortable, relaxed, but alert posture. Just begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. Sorry about the siren in the background. As you breathe in, feeling the breath in. As you breathe out, allowing the body to relax. And just letting your breath now breathe naturally and easily. And just following the breath for a few cycles with your attention. And remember, whenever your mind carries you away or you get lost in thought or something distracts you, just letting that go and bring your attention back to your breathing. A basic mindfulness practice. So maintaining this mindful awareness, take a moment to think about kindness and call to mind someone you care about who easily arises your feelings of kindness. This person can be someone you love or feel grateful for, or it can even be a pet. And just take a moment, think about what you appreciate about this person. And let the thought of this person fill you with positive thoughts and feelings and kindness. And just making a wish for the sincere happiness of that person. And thinking to yourself, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you give love and receive love. Just thinking that, sending those well wishes toward that person you care about. Again, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you give love and receive love. And establish that firmly in your thoughts. And allow yourself to be filled with feelings of kindness and goodwill. And just rest in that for a moment. Now imagine that you're sitting next to this person or pet that you care about, and include yourself in these feelings of kindness and goodwill. And make the wish, may we be happy, may we be healthy, may we live with ease, may we give love and receive love. Just mentally repeating that to yourself. May we be happy, may we be healthy, may we live with ease, may we give love and receive love. And now just focusing on yourself, making the wish, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease, may I give love and receive love. And sometimes it helps to put your hands gently on your heart, feeling the warmth there, repeating those messages to yourself. And again, if your mind wanders or if you become distracted, gently bring your attention back to the breathing and back to your feelings of kindness and goodwill. And with these feelings of kindness and goodwill firmly in your thoughts, remember that everyone wants to feel safe and healthy and be happy and experience love. And with this in mind, think of someone to whom you feel neutral, someone you neither like or dislike. It could be someone you see at the store or at work, you don't know them well, or in the neighborhood or in your travels, and just someone that you see but you don't really know them. And just picture them in your mind. And try to genuinely wish for the happiness of that person. And thinking to yourself, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease, may you give love and receive love. When the feelings of kindness are firmly in your thoughts, think about someone you have feelings of negativity or dislike. Maybe someone you get frustrated with or who challenges you, and picture them in your mind. Remembering that we all want to experience these feelings. Try to expand feelings of kindness and goodwill to include that person, and make the wish, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease, may you give love and receive love. Now see if you can expand your feelings of kindness and goodwill to everyone, to the people around you that you work with, in the building you work with, in the city where you're in the entire world, all living things. Sending out the same message. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease, may you give love and receive love. And just rest in that feeling of kindness and goodwill for all beings. Now, letting all thoughts and images dissolve like a cloud in the sky, letting your mind rest. Let's take one more deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, gently bring your attention back to the touch of your body on your seat and open your eyes. And before we move on, you might think to yourself and even send yourself a prayer or a blessing or a reflection of self-compassion of something that you need to hear today as you breathe into your heart space. Just let that intention settle in. Okay, thank you for joining me in that loving kindness meditation. Let me know if you have any comments or thoughts. How was that for you? Just hopefully it was a good experience. So in the next few minutes, and we don't have a lot of time left, I just want to introduce the idea of self-compassion. This is based on the work of Kristen Neff, another researcher in this area of self-compassion. And I know this is a lot of words here, but basically the three elements are self-kindness. So, remembering to, kind of treat ourselves as we might one of our best friends or a family member, instead of being, kind of that inner critic that we can sometimes be to ourselves. So that when we find ourselves saying, kind of mean things to ourselves, challenging ourselves, remember to be kind to yourself. So that's one. The second is common humanity, the idea that, we all go through struggles in life, and we're not alone in this. And when we open up to that, it can help us remember that we're not alone, and that there are others going through similar things, and probably others who are going through even more difficult circumstances. So we have that common humanity, and we all are interdependent, as Shauna Shapiro said in the video. And the last part is mindfulness. And mindfulness practice really, I think, is sort of a basis for all this. It really helps us step back from being swept away by some of those feelings when we get down on ourselves. So mindfulness, that idea of, we've done, like, for example, thought meditations before, stepping back from our thoughts, realizing that we're not exactly intertwined with all those things, thoughts and emotions that are going on, that we can step back and choose to nurture which thoughts we want to and let go of thoughts that are not so helpful to us. So just a couple things you'll see in the slides. These are some really nice videos if you want to take a few more time. She explains those three components in that first link. The second link, just a 2-minute, really quick one. Sorry, we don't have time to watch that now. I do want to give you a last kind of experience with that heart meditation. But that's a good quick one to watch. And then another one, that positive psychology, self-compassion, and your daily holiday. It's kind of a reminder to inject moments into your day, taking care of yourself. And just so to remind you, we talk about formal practices, doing some formal meditations as much as we can daily if possible. But the informal practice can be just as important, and that might include mindful pauses, whether it's, there's a 3 breaths that we did at the beginning. There's a 2-minute pause on our website. And there's a number of other ones that, I'll just mention here, even just taking 3 conscious breaths, pausing, tuning in, heightening our senses.
I'm doing my meditation.
Moving down to the SSAG, all that really is stop, sense. In other words, pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what thoughts are going on, and just appreciate. Take a moment to appreciate that, and then move on. So, kind of a quick, easy way. The stop. If you've been in one of the previous sessions, we've talked about stop, which is the S is the stop, and be aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our body sensations. The T is to take a deep breath, a deep mindful breath. The O is then open up and observe, and the P is proceed. So these are just quick techniques. I just kind of want to remind you about these. In the classes, we talk about daily practices, as I mentioned. So going forward, try the loving kindness meditation. There are plenty of other ones, but try to integrate this into your practice and see what difference it makes. And try to continue with some informal practices to really reinforce some of those things. You'll see some other homework readings and things that are there. And so I encourage you to kind of do what you can to keep up those practices as best you can. So before we get into the last experience and the last meditation, just want to open it up. Are there any questions or comments, or what did you think about the meditation? Just let's see if we have any thoughts. Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much. We have a thanks. Appreciate you all being here today, and appreciate all of your kindful and mindful presence as we do these classes and webinars. All right, well, let's feel free to let me know how this is working for you, as well as provide me with any feedback either by email or going forward. And I'm happy to continue to support your mindful practice. So let's finish with something called heart breathing. There are several different ways to do this, but one way is to, first of all, kind of bring something to mind. This isn't just before we actually start the practice. Bring something to mind that inspires you. It could be a person or some aspect of your faith, or it might be some of your deepest motivation, kind of the reasons that really matter to us as to why we do what we do in life, either the work or other things that you would do in our families or in our communities. Might be a specific individual, someone who inspires you. Might be something that that some example of some project or something that really is important to you, that brings kind of a sense of strength or inspiration to you. Okay. So bringing that to mind, let's begin the actual meditation. And again, Bringing yourself to a comfortable position. Taking a deep breath or two to kind of bring yourself into presence. Letting the body relax. Letting the mind settle. Getting in touch with here and now as best you can through the breath. Maybe noticing the breath as it travels in and out of the body, sensing that quality of expansion as you breathe in. You might even feel it as nourishing and settling as you breathe out. I want you to imagine you're breathing right into your heart area. So on the in-breath, you can feel the breath right into your heart and chest area, right into the center of your chest. You can even imagine almost as if there were nostrils on your chest or over your heart. That image helps. As you're breathing in, sense that quality of expansion as if the breath is nourishing and strengthening the heart. And as you breathe out, sense the breath exhaling almost as an offering from your heart. Doing that for a few breaths. Breathing in, nourishing the heart, strengthening yourself. And as you breathe out, sending that out into the world. And so as you do this, bring to mind that something that brings you strength or inspires you. Whatever it is, whatever I've given you a few examples or whatever comes to mind for you. Whatever brings you strength and compassion, inspiration. And as you breathe in, imagine actually breathing that into your heart area, strengthening and nourishing your heart. And as you breathe out, sending that intention or motivation out into the space, out into the world around you, so that you're connecting to your compassionate strength, taking it into yourself, and then sending it out as an offering. So continuing that for a few more cycles. Breathing this source of compassion or inspiration into the heart. And on the out breath, sending it out into the world. And so now, finishing the meditation, again, perhaps you may want to remember something for yourself, sending yourself a blessing or reflection or message of self-compassion, a remembrance of some way to take care of yourself, something that you need to hear today as you breathe into your heart space. And let that intention settle in as we close the meditation. And we close the webinar. I'll finish with a bell. So that ends the heart meditation and ends the webinar as well. I want to wish you a very happy Valentine's Day. Hope you have a wonderful day with your loved ones. And again, appreciate you being with me, and be well, be mindful, and remember to take good care of yourself. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks so much.